Welcome to today's course on helping your clients quit smoking and vaping. I'm Anita Renzetti. I'm the project director for Adult Cessation Services at Bay Area Community Resources, where I help adults quit smoking and vaping.
And I'm Jasmine Garrity, a youth health educator, and I work in youth tobacco prevention for Marin Healthy Youth Partnerships.
Well, by the end of today's webinar, you will be able to first explain the harmful effects of nicotine, smoking, and vaping in detail. Secondly, you can talk about what are the additional health risks, including death, when you have COVID-19 and you're a smoker. Third, to be able to recognize the unusual shapes and types of new generation e-cigarettes. Fourth, within Marin County, you'll be able to describe the vaping epidemic and how it's hitting our youth. Fifth, you can identify at least 3 of the many groups targeted by the tobacco companies. And sixth, demonstrate the AER strategy to help your clients quit if they smoke or vape. I'm sure that by now everyone knows that smoking is bad for you. And secondhand smoke is also really bad and deadly. But did you know that nearly 500,000 people a year die from secondhand smoke in the US alone? This is a huge statistic. In fact, I want to add to it that on average, smokers die 10 years before non-smokers do. The kinds of ways that people die from smoking are primarily heart disease, which is about 1/3, and slightly less than 1/3 lung cancer. As you can see, another huge heavy hitter is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which you might know as COPD. And then strokes, other cancers, and a variety of other diseases make up the remainder. Of the 480,000 people in the US who die from smoking every year, 41,000 of these are actually from secondhand smoke. And secondhand smoke affects everything from children to pets. And here we're highlighting what it does with teenagers. So teenagers that have 1 hour of secondhand smoke a week experience these really awful side effects. It hurts in terms of exercising, wheezing, dry cough, and missing school. And finally, in the lower right-hand side of the slide, you'll see many health risks that are associated with using e-cigarettes or vaping. For example, the addiction to nicotine, heart problems that we mentioned that are similar for smoking, as well as cancer, pneumonia, seizures, and injuries from things such as an exploding e-cigarette. Now that's a bunch of really scary and perhaps surprising statistics, but what I wanted to bring home today is that each of these 480,000 people is a precious life to somebody. This is my husband, Paul, and my stepdaughter, Regan. Paul died after being diagnosed with a smoking-related cancer in 2005. So it was a couple years after this photo was taken. And he made it 10 months before he died, even trying everything from an operation to chemotherapy to radiation, and nothing worked. So as I mentioned, everyone is an actual human being, and that makes the number perhaps make more sense. So as this graphic shows, I just love this graphic because it zeroes in on the fact that pretty much any organ in your body can be hit by cancer from smoking. It just doesn't discriminate. So you can lose your voice box, as we all know, but did you know that you can also die from liver cancer? And that's a quick way to die, really bad. Urinary bladder cancer and all of these other cancers. That's why we are pushing for people who smoke even a little bit to stop smoking completely. Recently, I created a 10-question tobacco quiz that's called the BAC Our Tobacco Quiz on the game site Kahoot. It's free and you can check it out with your clients sometime, especially your younger clients. I wanted to highlight one of the questions, which was how much more severe in terms of ICU and ventilator use and death is COVID-19 for smokers rather than non-smokers? Jazzy, do you think you could answer this question?
Yes, Anita. I would say that it's about 1.5 times as severe for COVID-19 and smokers versus non-smokers.
Yeah, that's a good guess, Jazzy. That's close, but to be honest, it's about twice as severe. So it's even worse than we were imagining. And here's another infographic that might be helpful to bringing the point across to your clients if they're visual, like I am. If you look at this graphic, it talks again about what does smoking or vaping have to do with increasing your risk of COVID-19. And this could be also, we could also mention cannabis or tobacco. It's not necessarily tobacco, but it can damage your lungs and it hurts your immune system so that you can't resist the virus like you could usually. So it's increasingly severe and much more of a chance that you're going to catch it if you smoke. And then also, if you do quit, your lungs and your immune system start to get better immediately and your infection possibility decreases. Now let me turn it over to Jazzy to talk a little bit about California's Healthy Kids Survey.
So we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about how the vaping epidemic has impacted Marin County youth. So if you take a look at this graph, you can see that in gray are the rates of Marin County youth from 2015 to 2016. And in blue, the rates of Marin County youth usage of e-cigarette products in 2017 to 2018. So if you look at this chart on the left-hand side, you can see that between a 2-year period of time, we've seen a huge increase of young people who have been using e-cigarettes and vaping products. If you focus in on grade 11, you can see that it went from 39% up to 47%. So that means about half of our 11th grade students here in Marin County have ever used an electronic cigarette or vaping device. And that can be very alarming. This graph here in the middle, however, is even more alarming than the one on the left, because we can see the percentage of students who are current users of electronic cigarettes or other vaping devices within the past 30 days. And you can see here that amongst 7th, 9th, and 11th graders, we've doubled or over doubled amongst the current users of e-cigarette products. And I'd like to focus your attention to grade 11 here, where we went from 11% of young people using e-cigarettes in the last 30 days up to 28%, which is about almost a third of our 11th grade students who are current e-cigarette users. So that is definitely something that's become very alarming here in Marin County. So what are e-cigarettes? In 2007, the first generation of e-cigarettes came out. And if you look here on the left-hand side at this Enjoy package, this is one of the original e-cigarette products that was released. It was a single-use device. You would use it once and throw it away after. Then they came out with the first rechargeable ones, which are shown below. We have blue, we have this green intro kit, and the basic anatomy of an e-cigarette product is here in the upper right-hand corner. You have a battery. This battery gets charged up, and what it does is heats up a metal piece in the middle called the atomizer. Once the atomizer gets to the right temperature, it heats the e-liquid container up to turn it from a liquid solution into a vapor or a aerosol, which gets inhaled through the mouthpiece. For the rechargeable ones, through this mouthpiece, that's the e-liquid container, and the inhaling part is what gets replaced, and you can reuse the battery and recharge it. So the e-cigarette products that we're seeing nowadays look a little bit more like this. Over here, if you look on the lower corner, you can see Juul. That is the most popular vaping device on the market at this point and at this time amongst young people. Over here on the left, we have a puff bar, which is one of the newer products that's become very popular among young people. It's the one that is red. Above that, moving up, we have that box-looking one that is black, and that is a mod. It uses lithium batteries, and it's actually a refillable device. So with all of these devices, there's two different types. You have refillable devices, and you have pod-based devices. The refillable devices use different e-liquid concentrations, so you can't control exactly how much nicotine and how much of the liquid solvent is a part of that concentration. You buy the e-liquid separate. With the pod-based devices, you buy pods that correlate with the brand of vape that you have. Those pods are preloaded and pre-filled with certain amounts of nicotine and chemical solutions inside of them. The puff bar, which is a new one that was merged, is a single-use device that is very similar to a pod-based device. So it is preloaded. Over here on the upper right-hand corner, you can see all the different types of pod-based devices that have emerged after the Juul was released in 2016. Then down at the bottom, another very popular one is the Soren, and that is a refillable device. So it's really important when we're looking at these different devices to remember that one pack of cigarettes is about 20 milligrams of nicotine. So that means there's about 1 milligram of nicotine in each cigarette. And as we look at vaping products, we're seeing a really high amount of nicotine in each one of the cartridges. One Juul pod, according to the Stanford Tobacco Prevention Toolkit, has 41.3 milligrams of nicotine, which equates to 41 cigarettes, which is a little bit over 2 packs of cigarettes. So when you think about historically people smoking cigarettes, they usually go out, they have their smoke break, and then they put it away and revisit it later. But with vaping, you don't know when you finish 1 cigarette. You only know when you finish 41 cigarettes or when the pod is empty. So a lot of young people, and anyone who's using e-cigarettes for that matter, are going through these a lot more rapidly than they would a normal pack of cigarettes. Moving over to the right, we see one puff bar is 50 milligrams of nicotine, which is about 50 cigarettes. And one Soren pod is about 90 milligrams of nicotine, which is about 90 cigarettes, which is over 4 packs of cigarettes worth of nicotine. So it's really important to remember that people who are using vaping products are having really high concentrations of nicotine throughout the day. So why does this matter? Nicotine and cannabis have a huge impact on developing brains for young people. So when we think about the parts of the brains that are still developing with our youth in our community, we have the prefrontal cortex and the limbic brain. So your brain is still developing up until the age of 25 or 26. The 9 functions of the prefrontal cortex are empathy, insight, response flexibility, emotion regulation, body regulation, morality, intuition, attuned communication, fear modulation. And what a lot of the prefrontal cortex does is controls your judgment. The limbic brain, on the other side, which is connected to it, controls the fight, flight, and freeze stress response. And it has those feelings of, am I safe? Do people want me? And all of the emotions live in this limbic brain. So when young people have nicotine and cannabis in this system, it is impacting those 2 parts of their brain development. And I'm going to pass it back to Anita to talk a little bit about the marketing.
Thank you, Jazzy. Here are some of the groups that have been historically targeted by tobacco companies. The tobacco companies actually don't really care who they're targeting. They're going to target anyone in any group that they can to make money. So the top graphic here is an ad about menthol cigarettes from Newport, as is the third one over on the right, on the bottom there. And basically Newport and Kool and others who produced menthol cigarettes were responding to a very small preference for menthol cigarettes in the Black community. They ended up not only putting out tons of ads, but also giving away coupons for free cigarettes in the Black neighborhoods so that they could hook a whole new generation of people. 70% of Black smokers now prefer menthols. So that action worked, and it's very scary to see the kind of power of the advertising. On the lower left-hand side of the screen, there's an example of women being targeted by Camel in the past. And in the middle of this, they would calm them down, or that they would be actually healthier mentally if they smoked. And the cigarettes on the right are very insidious. They're saying that the natural American spirit, which is targeted at not only Native Americans, but anyone who believes in organic or natural products, that these are somehow healthy. They look really healthy and they look like part of a heritage, but in fact, they're just as dangerous as all other cigarettes. And here's a few more groups that have been the unwitting target of advertising from the tobacco companies. First, the LGBTQ community, you can see with this ad, and also in the middle, Latinos, and on the right-hand side, Asian women. In particular, women, because Asian men, they already have a really high smoking rate, whereas a lot of the Asian women groups are much, much lower. So it was an untapped market, and as they do, big tobacco moves in. Now I wanted to turn it over to Jazzy to talk a little bit about why are youth a top target?
So youth are one of the top consumers and marketed audiences of the marketing with tobacco and e-cigarette advertising. The main reason for this is because there was a huge decline in people who were smoking cigarettes. They had to do something in order to fill that market. And so what they thought is market to the younger generation in order to build consumers that will be addicted and consumers for the rest of their lifetime. If you look here over on the right-hand side, we have the original Juul ads that came out in 2015, 2016. This is a company that prides themselves on getting current cigarette smokers to quit using cigarettes and switch to e-cigarettes. And these ads were actually, they had to take them down because it didn't look like they were marketing to the current cigarette user. These people look young and hip, and actually the girl that's right below was based off of a celebrity, Ariana Grande, that a lot of young people look up to. Here in the middle, we have two different advertisements for e-juices. And I'd like to remind you, we are trying to get current cigarette smokers to quit using cigarettes and switch to e-cigarettes. And here they use candies like gummy bears and Sour Patch Kids to advertise for different e-liquid flavors and products. On the lower left-hand side, we also have an ad that includes Santa Claus saying, "I don't always vape, but when I do, I use this brand." They're doing a lot of targeted marketing so that young people can associate these different celebrities, flavors, and figureheads with the vaping industry. And a lot of people look up to some of these other ads where you have someone saying that this is what satisfaction looks like. So they associate that satisfaction with e-cigarette use. However, the one way that a lot of young people are getting marketed to is through social media. There's different Instagram accounts like I'm Schmacked, Banger Buddy, Barstool. They do have additional teen influencers that advertise products like David Dobrik and Maddie Smokes. And for a lot of these teen influencers and these Instagram accounts, what the young people are actually doing is they're opting into being advertised to because they follow these accounts, they know all of these influencers, and so they're actually opting into seeing these ads. And the vaping and tobacco industry understands this, so they do provide a lot of the influencers and celebrities with funding to promote their products on their social media accounts. They also see famous people like Madison Beer, Bella Hadid, and Kendall, and Kylie Jenner. If you look here in the upper right, you can see Kylie Jenner vapes. These are a lot of celebrities that young people look up to. All of these ads on this screen are actually ads that were sent from high school students here in Marin County to me in order to show the impact of social media marketing. And I'm going to pass it off to Anita, and we're going to go through a quick video.
Oh, thank you, Jazzy. That's really disturbing about the targeting of youth. That's scary. So a lot of you watching the presentation might wonder at some point, with these overwhelmingly negative effects of smoking and vaping, not to mention the fact that big tobacco and now big vaping are behind them, why don't people just quit? This video shows a little bit about what might be happening inside of the brain of a smoker.
It's hard being a smoker. I've heard all the lectures.
You know, you shouldn't smoke.
I know all the signs. I've seen all the faces. I know the money it costs me. But that doesn't change the fact that it's hard to quit.
No judgments, just help at 802-QUITS. Whether it's free patches, gum, or lozenges, or help by phone, in person, or online, call or visit 802quits.org today.
Well, I hope that that video spoke to you like it did to me. That's something that I would be sharing with people, this kind of a video, because it would help someone who's a smoker recognize that their feelings of social stigma around smoking, that's legitimate. And they could possibly get help quitting and not have to face that anymore. Specifically, if you're wondering how to bring up the topic of smoking and vaping with your clients, we have a strategy to propose. The AER strategy is first to ask all your clients whether they smoke or vape. You can do this gently and just ask them, have you been smoking or vaping? And if they say yes, ask them about how many a day do you smoke or vape? And then you'll have some idea of how closely they're tied to the addiction. Secondly, advise all clients to quit, talking about the health effects related to them, personalize the message for them. And obviously you want to ask them to quit and to suggest that this is something that you advise as somebody who cares about them. And finally, you can refer your clients to appropriate resources for quitting. You might have one of our brochures. We also have a stock of cards that look like credit cards with the 1-800-NO-BUTS line on it, and a lot of other resources that we can give you on our last slide of the PowerPoint presentation so that you know what to say to your clients to help them quit. Now we're going to have some question and answers with our audience, and I see that Jazzy's going to read one of the questions that she selected from those that came in.
Yes, Anita. So here's a question that just came in. My clients feel discouraged, especially during these difficult times. Can you give us an example of someone local who succeeded in quitting and staying quit?
Oh, absolutely, Jazzy. I am really proud to introduce Erika Bond. She's on our next slide, and we're going to actually show you a video about Erika, whom I used to work with for many years. Hi, I'm Anita Renzetti. I work as the Project Director for Adult Cessation Services at Bay Area Community Resources. That's in San Rafael. I help adults quit smoking. And today I'm delighted to have with us Erika Bond. I met Erika Bond at Whistle Stop, where she's been managing the Meals on Wheels program for more than 7 years. Erika, please tell us when you quit smoking and why.
Hi, Anita. I quit smoking 2 years ago. And the reason I quit smoking, I was tired of smelling like cigarette smoke. I was tired of being out of breath. And basically, I was worried about my overall health.
Okay, those sound like really solid reasons. Erika, when did you start smoking and why did you ever start?
I was 17 years old when I first started smoking. And at that time, it was like the hip thing to do. Me and my friends just smoked some cigarettes, and we just thought that it was the going thing at that time, especially in my community.
Did you happen to smoke menthol cigarettes like Cool or Newport?
Wow, it's ironic that you say Newport. That was the brand of cigarettes that I smoked.
Oh my God. Yeah, the reason I asked is because when I've been studying about it, I learned that 70% of African Americans prefer menthol cigarettes. And I wondered why, so I dug into it, and it turns out that years ago, after seeing just a slight preference for menthols in African American communities, tobacco companies targeted Black people with ads about menthols.
Well, you're absolutely right. And this makes total sense because they would give us postcards to mail back. and they would mail us free cigarettes or get 50 cents off a pack of cigarettes to me and my friends. And I think that was a way of getting us addicted to their product.
It sounds like that's pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
So on a more positive note, what are some things that helped you to quit smoking?
Well, after my more than 20 tries, the main reason that helped me quit smoking was I wanted to be around my grandchildren. Yeah.
That sounds like a great motivation. How did you quit, Erika? How did you quit and stay quit this time?
I quit cold turkey. It was tough because of the mood swings, the cravings, the nausea, the headaches, but I did it.
Oh my God, I'm so impressed.
But I did it.
Wow. Erika, if you needed to quit now, would you do anything differently?
Yes, I sure would. I would call California Helpline 1-800-NO-BUTS to create a quick plan. I know that my nicotine withdrawals would have been less difficult if I had nicotine patches and other support that they offer.
Well, that makes sense to me too, because those are the experts. And I would like to say, from what I've read, that people are much more likely to stick with quitting if they call the helpline and get that kind of expert support.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question for you, Erika, on the positive side. What changed for you after you quit?
Oh, well, in 2017, I was diagnosed with lung cancer. What changed, I was healthy enough to stay strong and fight the lung cancer. Even though my doctors thought I wouldn't be here within 6 months, I'm still here fighting. And right now, there's no signs of the cancer.
Such a relief, I know, for you and for your friends and family as well. So were there any additional benefits besides that huge benefit? Were there any additional benefits that you noticed after you quit smoking?
Oh my gosh. More energy, more oxygen, and my sense of taste and smell is back. And overall, I feel good. I feel good.
You look good too, and I know you're a heck of a baker, so I'm glad that you can taste your creation.
I can finally.
Well, I just want to thank Erika. Thank you so much for being here today and for this inspiring message. I mean, you really show that quitting's hard, but it's possible. So I want to congratulate you on your 2+ years, Erika, and hope that you'll come back again to share your personal journey.
Thank you so much, Anita. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Anita, for sharing this video. It's very great to hear a heartfelt story of someone who's here and local that's going through the process of cessation. So we have one more question that came in. Won't people in recovery from alcohol and other drugs relapse if they have to give up their last crutch, smoking? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One of the things that we've found through research, Jazzy, is that 25% of the chance of staying sober, it's like increasing 25%, not decreasing 25% when you're also giving up smoking. Additionally, about 80% of the people who are in recovery have expressed interest in quitting smoking. But the culture of quitting other drugs and alcohol can often encourage smoking without meaning to. So I have another video that I think that you might enjoy that's specific to someone who happens to be in recovery and then discusses smoking.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So this is again just pointing out that although it might seem counterintuitive, then in fact addressing smoking and quitting smoking when someone's in recovery is generally a positive thing, and it can increase their chances of sobriety.
come in. Oh, hey, Maya. Thanks for dropping by. How's your recovery going?
Hi, Bashir. Things are good. I just got 90 days sober and I never thought that would happen. Last week, I graduated from my treatment program and moved into sober living. Next week, I start school. So it's been pretty stressful, but I'm actually feeling excited.
Wow, that's great news. Congrats on that sobriety milestone. I know it hasn't been easy, but look at the good things happening. You mentioned feeling stressed, and that seems like a pretty normal reaction, especially after everything you've been through. Meanwhile, you're staying sober, and that's huge.
Thanks. It feels huge.
Well, what else is going on? Do you still smoke?
Ugh, yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
No. Yeah, okay. I do. So I'm going to meetings, I'm working with a sponsor, and I'm sober. That's all great. But other than that, I'm not feeling super healthy. Staying up too late, eating too much. I'm smoking way more cigarettes now. It's kind of like I traded my old bad habits for new ones. And cigarettes are expensive when you don't have a job.
Yeah. Sounds like you've leaned on some of these behaviors as coping tools in early sobriety. Maybe now it's time to look at that.
I guess so.
Maya, have you ever tried to quit smoking?
Yeah, I have tried. I didn't have much luck though. Honestly, cigarettes always seemed pretty harmless compared to drugs, but I know they're bad for me. I've been really short of breath, especially during the move. And sometimes I start coughing and I can't stop. It's embarrassing. It's just that every time I tried to quit in the past, I failed. And I don't know anybody in recovery who quit and stayed quit.
Yeah. Well, I do happen to know people in recovery who quit and stayed quit. They say it's hard to quit, but it gets easier and it's worth it. Can you picture yourself as a future non-smoker? And are you interested in that possibility?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to smoke forever. It's so gross. I'm already getting lip wrinkles and I hate the way my hair and my clothes smell. But I'm also scared to quit and fail again. So I'm not ready to quit today. No way.
Maya, your sobriety is proof that once you made a decision and had the right tools and support, you were able to do something that you used to think was impossible.
That's true.
Yeah, and just look at the good things turning out so far. Quitting smoking would help you get rid of those annoying side effects, some of those that you mentioned, and also save a lot of money. More importantly, you'd get to enjoy a longer and healthier life. And here's a crazy statistic. Nearly 500,000 Americans die each year from tobacco-related illnesses. That's more deaths than from alcohol and drugs combined.
Whoa.
Yeah. I care about your health. And I think being a non-smoker is a good next goal to set for yourself.
Okay. I agree with that. I do want to quit. I'm just trying to build up my confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense, Maya. And you won't need to do this alone. You didn't get sober alone, right?
No, I had a lot of help.
Well, here's the brochure. Now inside, you'll want to check out the California helpline 1-800-NO-BUTS. Their coaches can help you create a quit plan with a quit date, get free nicotine patches, and find group support. Now, here's the bigger question. Would you be willing to call the helpline by next week's appointment as a first step?
You sure are persistent this year. Okay, I guess I could make that call, and it might give me hope that I'm not stuck being a smoker for the rest of my life.
Thanks, Maya. We can talk about how it went next week. Congratulations again on the 90 days sober, along with all the positive things happening in your life. You are doing great.
Thanks, Bashir, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So we're going to move over and talk a little bit about the cessation resources that are available. I'll go through first the youth cessation resources and then pass it to Anita for the adult cessation resources. So the first one right here is the California Smokers Helpline. You can also find this at nobutts.org or text quit vaping to 66819. The California Smokers Helpline is listed here. For the regular helpline, it's 1-800-NO-BUTTS. For the teen vape line, it is 1-8448-NO-VAPE. And for the smoke-free in Espanol, you can go to 1-800-45-NO-FUME. The second resource is the National Institute of Health. You can reach them at smokefree.gov, and you can register online to receive services. An additional tool is the Truth Initiative. You can text Ditch Juul to 88709, and it can connect you with a counselor that will walk you through the process of quitting vaping. You can also get additional information at truthinitiative.org. And Anita, can you go through some of the adult cessation resources?
Sure. Yes. Well, one of the things that I suggest for people is to call Kaiser Permanente, because when they have their ongoing Freedom from Tobacco series, it's not only free for members, but it's also free for non-members, at least in Marin County. So that's one of the things that I suggest, and you'll see the phone number here on the screen. Another place that a lot of people, particularly people in recovery, tend to pull towards is Nicotine Anonymous. And this is the Nicotine Anonymous URL to be able to look up local meetings. For both of these resources, during the time of COVID, they've put everything online, but it's all still available. So if you call or you go to the website, you'll be able to find the resources that will keep you safe while you quit. On the right-hand side of the screen, we also have created a new URL for the Marin Health and Human Services page. And this page is specifically about things related to tobacco and vaping and including COVID-19 here in Marin County. So as you can see, it now ends in Marin Quits, and that's going to be really easy to remember. You can also use the QR code on the lower right-hand side there that Jazzy created. So if you scan that, it will pull right in, and you will be able to then pull up the page and find all of the wonderful resources, pretty much everything on this page and more.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you again, and please feel free to contact us if you have any other needs.